Right, guys, welcome to Traveling 101. So today is Wednesday, 3rd of June. I am about to go off to Greece for the week from the early hours tonight, tomorrow morning. I wanted to share with you guys how I manage traveling, how I manage holidays, and how you guys can also enjoy your holiday without undoing months of hard work. And we're going to go deep into the specific things you need to be doing on a day-to-day basis without feeling restrictive, without feeling like you can't switch off and enjoy yourself, because holidays are very, very important. And it's important to have that downtime. I'm a big, big fan of it. It is actually one of my I actually think this is the first scheduled break I've had in over a year. I've not taken any days off. And when I look back at the calendar, I couldn't believe it, but I'm really looking forward to it. But I still wanted to share with you guys how I plan to stay on track over the next week, because off the back of the holiday, pre-season is then starting for a lot of you guys and for myself as well. So let's get into it. We're going to go through the mistakes. So the common pitfalls we see that players make. We'll then look at what I call the holiday hierarchy, which is essentially around your hydration, movement, and your training. And then we'll look at the blueprint that we can implement in terms of managing nutrition, looking at alcohol, sleep, and also travel as well. So it's a complete system for athletes who want to return from holiday refreshed, but not feeling like they've lost progress. And this is a really simple system that I implement myself. I'm going to implement it over the next week, and you guys can do exactly the same, because I know a lot of you are going away right now. So a lot of us, I've done this myself in the past, by the way, come back from holiday feeling like you need another holiday. Often it's been when I've gone for lads' holidays, and that's something I won't be doing anytime soon. I've not even been away for a week. Sometimes it's like a long weekend, and I just come back feeling really lethargic. I feel less fit. I don't feel sharp. I feel heavy, and it almost feels like I need like 2, 3 weeks sometimes to get back up to speed. Not just from a training standpoint, but from a habits and like energy standpoint as well. And you come back, even if it's like a long weekend. I remember when we went to Dublin, and it was a really heavy drinking weekend, and I came back and I was written off for about a week. And it's like all that progress I made up until that holiday, well, even the holiday, that long weekend, I just felt like I lost it. Now, when you're on holiday, you don't need to be perfect. You want to come back feeling refreshed without sacrificing all the progress you've worked so hard for. And that's what we want to break down. That's what we're going to show you and implement for your holidays, for when you're going away. The reason why holidays derail progress, there's three big mistakes that I see. It's the sod it or the fuck it mentality, which is basically I'll start again when I get home. So instead of just having a few beers, you have like 20. Instead of having like one kind of cheat meal or one really heavy meal, it becomes 7 days of completely overeating, mindlessly overeating. One missed session becomes 14 days of nothing. Now, this isn't what we call a deload. This isn't a rest period. That is self-sabotage. And you disguise it as relaxation. I've disguised it as relaxation in the past, but it's not. It's self-sabotage, because when you come back off the back of that, you don't feel good. Very rarely ever, in fact, I don't think I've ever seen a player come back off the back of doing this, having that fuck it mentality and saying, yeah, I feel much better. It's often, I feel like shit. My energy's shit. I wish I did more when I was away, but oh well, I'm going to have to get back on it now. So instead of having to fall off the wagon and get back on the wagon, you can just keep the wagon slowly plodding along, slowly going along, rolling along. The way you do that is through not making a second mistake, not training, not moving, having no routine, having no structure. Yes, you're on holiday. Yes, it's good to switch off. But I mean, I'm going away tomorrow. I've still got a structure. I know when I land, the first thing I want to do is I'm actually going to get in the gym, because I've been traveling. I'll be sitting probably for four and a bit hours. It's just a great way to reset and just to get some blood pumping, get the endorphins going. And then off the back of the session, I'm like, yeah, I might go to the bar and I might have a few beers. Great. But I've trained, I've moved my body. I've got myself into a routine instantly, into a structure. Your body will start detraining much, much faster than you actually realize, especially when we look at speed, when we look at strength, fitness. Those two qualities in particular, strength and fitness, they take slightly longer, but speed can detrain within a matter of days, not even weeks. So when you're a player if you're a player who wants to remain fast, powerful, athletic, explosive, you can't not train this stuff. You need to try and get some form of exposure, just purely from a maintenance perspective. We're not trying to make crazy gains whilst you're away, okay? It's just about a maintenance perspective. And then that brings me to the third mistake, which I see players make, is trying to be perfect. And I've done this in the past myself when I've been on holiday. And it's not a place you want to be doing. You want to be in, and it's not something I would recommend doing. It's tracking every calorie, avoiding any treats, missing kind of experiences if you're with your family. It just creates stress. It kills the enjoyment, and it's not sustainable. Like, I don't want you to be that player either, because I'm not. I'm definitely not that player. But having or being at both ends of the spectrum, having both extremes, can really, really cost you. And that's the mistake I want you to avoid making if you are going away off the back of watching this. So, coming back to what I just said, it's a matter of maintenance. Everything's about maintenance when you go away. If you can maintain even 90% of your fitness, of your body composition whilst enjoying yourself, you're laughing. I genuinely mean that because it's something I've done myself. I'm planning to do it over the next, what, 5, 6 days. Preseason starts next Tuesday. If I can just maintain at a bare minimum what I've built over the last few months, I'm going to go into preseason absolutely flying. And that's the philosophy I want you to take from this. We're not trying to make progress. We're not trying to make gains. We're not trying to hit personal bests, which you might, by the way, whilst you're away, because you've got extra calories to work with. That extra energy can be used in the gym to actually hit some really, really good numbers. But I'm not expecting you to go and smash PBs. But it's all about maintenance. And everything in this is about one objective, is to come home quite close to where you left off. And that puts you in a fantastic position because you would have still enjoyed yourself. So the holiday hierarchy, which I mentioned at the start of this, when you're on holiday, focus on these things and focus on these in the order that I've given them. Number one is your hydration. A lot of your fatigue when you're away comes down to dehydration. You're in warmer temperatures, you're sweating more. Generally, you're moving quite a lot. You're consuming more alcohol, which then leads to more dehydration. You're probably not sleeping as well as you do, or you're probably not in a routine of sleeping as well as you do at home. How do we offset that? Well, wake up in the morning, 750 milliliters to a liter of water, add electrolytes to it, have that before any coffee, before any breakfast, before any fry ups, have it every single morning. You must hydrate the body. It's one of the biggest things that leads to that fatigue and that lethargic feeling when you're away. And it can really impact your performance, your energy, and also impact your sleep as well. From there, we then look at, okay, how much movement are we going to get across the day? Are we literally like lying by the pool the whole day, like for like 12 hours, which I don't think anyone really does. I think you have periods of chilling by the pool and then periods of like exploring. You want to try and get at least 8 to 12,000 steps a day. There's a spectrum for this. Obviously, if you're a bit more of a relaxed holiday, if it's a bit more of a relaxed holiday, you're going to be more towards the lower end of that 8,000. But if you're like exploring and looking at things, if you're like me who just loves going out and seeing things, I mean, the missus have got loads planned over the next few days to go into like Old Roads Town and go and explore where we're staying. And like we want to go out for walks. We like doing that, walking along the beach. I know I'm going to clock a shitload of steps, way more than I am at the moment. And my steps at the moment are pretty good, but I know I'm going to clock more on holiday. So that kind of daily movement I know is ticked off. I don't even need to think about it. Walking is the absolute most underrated fat loss tool that you have. And it's free. It's completely free. You can go for walks after dinner. You can go walks in the evening instead of grabbing taxis. Can you walk there? Is it like a 30-minute walk? Is it a 20-minute walk? Like, make the most of it. Allow that time. Enjoy the views. Have a chat with whoever you're with. Like, just enjoy it rather than jumping in the taxi the whole time. This can be a really, really, it's a low hanging fruit for a lot of athletes. So, hydrate number one. Can we get daily movement in across the day? And then we look at the training because you don't need to be training every day. Some of you will want to. I like training every day. I'll be waking up and going straight into the gym. Actually, no, it's a lie. I'll be waking up, having breakfast, then probably going into the gym. But I'm not training to get fitter. And that's something I don't want you doing when you're away either. You're training to keep things switched on and to keep the momentum going within your favor, more so when you get back. So it's not this huge feeling of overwhelm when you have to get back into the gym, when you go back to work, when you have 101 things to do, when you've got this to-do list, if you've got family, you've got the kids to look after. There's so many things when you come back. So if you can just keep yourself ticking with your training, that's one less thing that you have to be worrying about and feeling overwhelmed about because it's almost second nature. You just kept yourself ticking over. We implement what we call the minimum effective dose, 2 to 4 sessions, 30 minutes, 45 minutes in the gym or body weight in the room. Done. Do it hard, do it properly, but do it and do the bare minimum that we need to keep ticking over, depending on how long you go away. If you're going away for a week, you're probably looking at 3 sessions. If you're going away for 5 days, you're probably looking at 2 sessions. If you're going away for 3 days, 1 session. Sometimes a 3-day period, you can kind of get away with just having a deload and not actually needing to worry about the training. You can just focus on hydration and daily movement. But it's a conversation that we can have. So if you get this right, you'll put yourself in a really good position because most players will always skip to the training part and then ignore the hydration, then ignore the movement, and then wonder why they still feel really, really bad when they return or even when they're away. So first job every morning, as I mentioned, 750 to 1 litre, 750 millilitres to 1 litre of water. Electrolytes added to the water. Have this before coffee, have it before breakfast. If you're dehydrated from the flights, from alcohol, from the heat, from the poor sleep, you need to offset that as soon as possible when you wake up because you do get fatigue on holiday. You do get headaches. You can lead to a reduction in performance off the back of holidays. You can also get a lot of brain fog as well, something I used to experience. It's not necessarily the sun or the traveling, it's the fact you are dehydrated. So if you fix that first, everything else becomes a little bit easier because you can actually function as you need to be functioning. We then look at the minimum effective dose. So we look at the training, 2 to 4 sessions a week, 30 to 45 minutes. I think this is really, really important. We've obviously mentioned the movement and the daily steps. That should be an absolute given. Like you should be exploring things, and I'm not saying you should be exploring things, but you should be. Most players we see when they go away tend to do more steps than they do at home because they're exploring things, and it tends to be just kind of it's a general consensus I see when when athletes go away. So when we have that in place, and then you add this on top of it, you put yourself in a really good position. These are just some examples of I've given here. You got the hotel gym. You could have two workouts across the week. Workout A, workout B. Really simple, basic movements, full body sessions. Get in, get out. That's literally 30-minute sessions. You can see in workout A and workout B. If you've got no gym, that's fine. There shouldn't be an excuse not to train. We just do a bodyweight circuit instead, 20 to 30 minutes. And again, full body session, really, really simple. We could do it based on timings. We could do it based on reps. We could do it as a circuit. You actually get a really good sweat on it. It's actually quite enjoyable when you do it like that. You don't need 100 different gym sessions across the week. You need enough stimulus to tell your body, I want to preserve my muscle, I want to preserve my strength, my speed, my power, but I want to do it in the minimum time possible. And we can do that. This is what I'll build for you, providing you give me enough heads up for when you're going away. And that's conversations that we can have. And then something we haven't really looked at is the nutrition. Now, this is important. You don't want to be that guy who has his MyFitnessPal out at the table on holiday. You do not want to be that guy. You also don't want to be the guy eating chicken and broccoli all the time, especially when you're on holiday. So how do you then stay on track without being that guy? Number one thing, look at your plate. Is there protein on the plate when you go out for a meal? Where is my protein? That's what I ask myself. Eggs in the morning, omelets, Greek yogurt, smoked salmon. For lunches, beef, chicken, fish. And then in the evening, steaks, seafood, grilled meat. Lovely. Can't go wrong. Because that's, for me, like that's me enjoying myself. And I can enjoy some extras with it as well, but I know I've got protein on the plate. In terms of the holiday plate method that I implement, half of my plate has always got protein and some form of vegetables, salads. Sometimes I have a side salad with it. And then half the plate is usually just like whatever I want. It could be rice, it could be chips. I don't really eat too much chips anyway, but it could be like rice. I'm trying to think what other examples. There's pizza. I might like have a couple of slices of pizza. If there's some like, I don't know, fried chicken, like throw some fried chicken on there. All the things that like are generally considered like maybe not supportive of your performance and your fat loss and your health, you can add those things in because you're on holiday and like you still got to enjoy it, right? It could be a dessert. It depends on what your preference is, but you can do this very, very simply without tracking. There's no reason to feel guilty because you know I've got my protein on the plate. I've eaten well in the day. I'm getting my steps in without even really thinking about it. I'm hydrating the body well. I've done my training session early doors this morning. I've been enjoying the day. I don't have to stress about doing that later in the day because then otherwise, if you wait until you work out, maybe later in the day, it becomes a bit more difficult because there's things you want to do and maybe plans you have with people you're with or your partner or your family. If you get it done early doors, it's done. But then having this method in place for when you actually sit down to eat, it's really, really simple. If you do have if you prefer to train before you have heavy meals, which some players and some athletes do, something I used to do, I probably won't be doing it over the next week because I want to try and get out early doors so we can kind of explore and just chill out and enjoy the day. But it's training before that big meal. So if you've got a big meal in the evening, maybe training about say 5 p.m., 5 till 6. And then the big meal after that, which you maybe eat at 7 p.m., that becomes like your recovery nutrition. Instead of like eating a massive meal, feeling a little bit guilty, and then doing that consistently over maybe a week or 2 weeks, that will put you in a really kind of detrimental position when you come back because you just overconsumed calories without really moving your body or utilizing those calories to try and maintain strength, speed, and power. Whereas this way, the heavy meal strategy, you can train, refuel, and really enjoy yourself. And quite honestly, you can probably get away with a bit more, having more naughty treats, so to speak, in there because you're using it as a post workout and your body's going to absorb that a lot. It's going to be a lot more sensitive to that and use that to help the recovery process off the back of the training, providing that the training is intense enough. Now, alcohol, the big one for holidays. Some athletes watching this may not drink at all. Some may drink for enjoyment. Some may only drink like very sporadically, like myself. Very, very sporadically. I'll probably drink 2-3 times a year. Holidays is one of those times. So how do we manage it? Well, instead of having like 10 pints, can we have a couple of beers and then maybe switch to maybe a lower calorie alternative? My personal favorite is a gin, soda and lime or a vodka soda lime. Really, really really refreshing drink. Maybe add some mint in it if you're a fan of it. That's a really refreshing drink and it works well because it's very, very low calorie. I think there's something like 60 to 80 calories in one of those compared to like 250, 300 calories in a pint, especially when you're away. There's a big difference there just from a calorie standpoint. Obviously, alcohol has a separate effect on the body, which we speak a lot about within our alcohol mastery module within the program, within the hub. If that's something you haven't been through, by the way, highly recommend before you go on holiday, you watch that. It just gives you an understanding of what alcohol actually does to the body. It's not to scare you and say you shouldn't be doing it or you shouldn't be consuming alcohol. Like it's just about being aware and understanding this is the effect that it has. This is what I need to do to try and offset it because there are some really good strategies within there. I'm not going to go through those now, but there's some really good strategies within that module that show you how to try and offset the effects of alcohol as best as you can. We'll never be able to offset them completely, but you can do things to help yourself massively. Really simple things as well. The easiest thing off the back of drinking is when you wake up in the morning is hydrating the body. Getting sunlight, very, very easy to do on holiday. You could do those two things at the same time. Moving the body so that you could do those three things at the same time. You could go out for a walk whilst you're sipping your water with electrolytes and get direct sunlight, and then having a cold shower, ice cold shower, which again on holidays a little bit easier to do because it's quite hot. So what those four things do, number one, we're hydrating the body. We're giving the body electrolytes, which is very, very important because we wake up dehydrated from the alcohol that we've consumed maybe the day or night before. We're getting direct sunlight. So the sunlight, it helps improve our sleep later in the day. So when we get that direct sunlight, the sunlight comes in through the eye. It then releases what we call serotonin, the feel-good chemical, which essentially when we're in the sun, this is the reason why everyone feels really, really good and everyone feels good on holiday. That serotonin later in the day gets converted to melatonin, which is actually going to help you to improve your sleep quality because melatonin is what brings the body down in the evening to kind of shut the system and the processes down to say it's sleepy time. And we've then got a cold shower, which helps boost adrenaline and increase alertness and reduce cortisol, which is going to be high. Cortisol is your stress hormone. When you consume alcohol, it does raise and it goes, cortisol is going to be high in the body no matter who you are. And we need to try and bring that down. To be able to bring that down, ice cold showers are a really, really effective tool. So those four things, very, very simple strategy you could do off the back of drinking. But it's also important to ask yourself, am I actually enjoying this drink or am I having it out of a habit? Because conscious drinking, it does dramatically reduce your intake without feeling like you're being restrictive. You still enjoy your holiday, but you just stop having those mindless rounds that really add up to nothing. If you've got 7 nights of heavy, heavy drinking, it's going to compound beyond that when you come back into a week of poor sleep, poor training, poor food choices. This is why we see not so much within the program because we have good strategies within the program, but I've seen players before, a lot of teammates, for example, they'll go away, be really, really kind of like they just that have it that fuck it mentality. They just go absolutely ham, and then they come back and it's like 2 weeks have passed and they're still like drinking and they're still eating pizzas every night and they can't snap out of it. And it's because they didn't have any strategy when they went away. They just literally mindlessly just went through the days and just overconsumed everything in sight. It's not a place you want to be in. And if you're a player within this program right now, you're more switched on than most. If you're more switched on than most, you know that there's going to need to be a bit of balance between consuming things you enjoy, but also training and making sure you keep yourself ticking over. And then off the back of alcohol, especially heavy alcohol consumption, and just the heat and just being in a new room, new routines, when you're away, sleep gets affected. And a lot of players are going to stay up late. They're going to drink more. They're going to end up sleeping probably a little bit worse. The way we offset that, again, morning sunlight. That is going to help you to just reset the circadian rhythm, your body clock, quite simply, and improve the sleep quality that night, like I've just mentioned, in terms of getting serotonin to convert to melatonin. Hydrate early doors. We know that dehydration is a massive disruptor of sleep quality, and really, really important. Make make the room cool and dark. Get the AC on. Most hotels abroad will have AC. Make the room dark. Don't keep lights on. Try and keep a kind of rough sleep schedule. Even if it's like 80% consistent, it's still going to make a massive difference to how you feel in the morning, but also how you perform throughout the week, and also when you come back. Sleep is one of those things, like it doesn't just hit you there and then, it will build up over days and days and days. And then maybe when you return, that's when it hits you, especially after all the traveling and everything. So it's something you really want to be mindful of. I call it the hidden killer that nobody talks about, is because it doesn't just affect you. Yes, you can have one bad night's sleep and feed it, but sometimes you could have an okayish night's sleep. And then the 3-4 days after, you might have an okayish night's sleep, maybe not as good as it could be, but that okayish night's sleep it compounds and there's a lag effect on it. After about a week or so, suddenly you're like, wow, I'm really, really tired because my sleep the last week has only just been okay. It's not been great. And then it hits you hard when you return. And suddenly now you're back into routines, you're back into team training, you're back into doing the day-to-day things that you have to do, the commitments you have in life. It becomes very difficult to deal with because you're tired, you're exhausted. So it's just really, really important to be aware of this more than anything. When you're traveling, so I'll be doing this tomorrow when flying out, hydrate well, eat a protein-rich meal. Scrambled eggs is great. Grab something from the airport if you're eating at the airport. So it could be scrambled eggs, it could be smoked salmon. Try and keep it really kind of heavy on the protein. You don't want too many like refined carbohydrates or anything like that, especially before a flight. It will impact your energy, and it just puts you off on a bad foot before you've even gone away. When you are up in the air, when you're in the flight, obviously it says walk regularly, more so move regularly. So try and stand up, try and stretch out, take a walk to the bathroom and back. Like try and keep your legs moving. You don't want to be sitting there cramped up for like 3, 4, 5 hours, however long your flight is. Could be longer if you're flying long haul. Drink water consistently. Try and avoid excess alcohol when you're up in the air. I know everyone likes a little tipple on the flight, but it's just important to recognize the effect that's going to have, especially when you land and then suddenly you're put into this like new environment of humidity and heat, and you've just traveled, you've probably not slept well the night before because you caught an early flight. It can all add up very, very quickly. Suddenly, the first day you are absolutely battered, and you've only just got there. So it's important to recognize that. And then when you land, get outside and just walk. Get that sunlight exposure. Don't necessarily go straight into the room. Just try and get yourself moving. Try and adapt to the environment. Try and get yourself outdoors. Me personally, I have to move the body, and often it's with intense training because that just hits is like a reset button for me. It's brilliant. I usually come back from that, I have a ice cold shower, and then like my missus is usually waiting by the pool for me with like a nice cold beer. But at least then I've started things on the right foot, and then I can enjoy myself. If you land when it's nighttime, try and get a decent sleep. Try and go to sleep at like as soon as possible. Really, I know it's not always easy because you just landed, you're excited, you want to explore things. That's probably the only time I would say, unless it's nighttime, or if you land when it's not nighttime, sorry, get outside and move because that can reduce any jet lag, especially depending on the time difference of where you've gone to. And it can set you up to feel good. But if you do land at night, I would recommend trying to prioritize sleep over anything else. And then bringing it back to this, the 80-20 holiday rule. Is one pizza going to ruin your physique, your performance? Is one beer or a few beers going to ruin your performance? No. 7 days, 14 days, however long you're going away, of continuously poor decisions and no real thought or intent behind what you're doing, just mindlessly going through the motions, that's going to ruin your performance when you return. You won't feel it on holiday. You'll feel it when you get back and you're back in team training, or you're back on that pitch for that first game. That's when you're going to feel it. So make some good choices, make smart choices, but also enjoy yourself. And you stick to this, I can guarantee you're going to come back refreshed, energized. You probably come back leaner than expected because you've actually probably moved more than you are at the moment. And walking is literally a free fat loss tool. You're probably eating better quality food. I often find this when I go away. Foods abroad, the quality of food is so much better. The meat's really, really good. A lot of it's grilled food, which we don't always get here. And the quality of like nutrients you get from the foods abroad is often better. They often use a lot less chemicals. So you can actually come back in really, really good shape. You can come back feeling really, really strong. Using those extra calories to go and hit 2, 3 gym sessions across the week, you're going to 100% maintain and even build strength because you've got more calories available. It can work really, really well. It can work in your favor. And then when you get back, you're ready to train hard almost immediately because you're not out of routine. And just a few additional tips that I would recommend. Pack resistance bands if you haven't got a gym available. It's cheap, they're light, and they allow you to perform a session wherever you are. You don't need a hotel gym. However, if you can book a hotel with a gym, highly recommend, or book a hotel where there is a gym nearby and maybe you get a day pass, which is what I'm doing for when I go away. It's like a 10, 15 minute walk there's like a rooftop gym there, which I actually can't wait to use because it's just training in different settings. I've checked out the equipment, checked out the prices. It's all looking really, really good. So that's where I'm going to be training from. But just checking this, it literally takes 30 seconds to check from where you're staying. This can save you a whole month of trying to get back on the wagon just because you had a gym available. And then around it, movement, use movement anchors. So walk before breakfast, walk after dinner, get in the pool, explore things on foot. If you can attach we attach movement to your existing activities, you're not going out of your way to get steps in. You're just enjoying yourself, but you're moving as a byproduct of doing that. And that's what you want to be doing when you're on holiday. And remember, the aim is to return at 95%, 90 to 95. When you return at about that, I'd say you're about 7 days out of being at 100%. If you return at 60%, having absolutely blown it, when you're away, it's going to take about 4 weeks to get back to where you were. And that is, it's a long time. 1 month is a long time, especially when you look at going back into pre-season, going back into the season, having to perform straight away when you get back. It's important to keep that in the back of your mind as well. So 5 takeaways, the 5 principles. Remember, maintenance is the key. Don't try and be perfect. We're just trying to retain what we've built. Follow the hierarchy that we built. Hydration first, movement, training. Make sure that we're doing it in that order. Don't skip to the training only and forget the movement and the hydration because it's a really important part of the formula that we've built. When you're sitting down to eat, find the protein. Where's the protein? Anchor the protein, anchor your nutrition even around the protein, and everything else becomes a little bit easier. And remember, I don't want you being too extreme with this. Like, it's not about being kind of locked in when you're away, so to speak. It's not about being locked in. But I also don't want you to be the player who completely and mindlessly just goes absolutely AWOL with this and just literally just ignores it completely. There's a middle ground, and that's where I want you to be. I want you to find that middle ground. Yes, you're training, but you're also enjoying yourself. Yes, you're moving, but you're also exploring things and you're still able to switch off. But remember, sleep is really important. Hydration around this is really important because sleep, I say all the time, is the glue that holds everything together. Poor sleep compounded to poor food choices. That affects your training. That means poor training. And then because you're not training great, your recovery is going to be impacted as well. Protect your sleep and you protect everything that you're trying to build. I'll leave you this with this, guys. The holidays should recharge you, not reset you to a point where it's like you feel like you're starting from square one. That's not where you want to be. And I'm going away tomorrow, early hours tonight, tomorrow. I'm aiming to come back recharged 100% because I've not had a scheduled break in a year, but I must keep myself ticking over. And if you're a player watching this who's got goals to hit, you're here for a reason. Like you've still got things to hit. Whilst holidays are important, absolutely, I'm a massive fan of them. You also need to make sure that you do the bare minimum, the minimum effective dose, to make sure that when you do come back, it's not overwhelming that you're out of shape or you feel off the pace. You can do both. We can enjoy both. It's not about being extremely disciplined, but it's also not about being extremely or mindless with what you do. Not just like going through the motions of like drinking and just eating. Find the middle ground. And I see it time and time again, like the players who progress on a yearly basis. Some of you in the program been here for a long, long time. You're never perfect, and you'll agree with that. But you're very consistent, and you're consistent when others switch off. You've still got that little something that just keeps you ticking, whether it's a little bit of training, whether it's walking, whether it's the protein on the plate, whether it's a little bit of understanding around alcohol and how to make smarter choices around alcohol or how to balance your plate a little bit better when you're away. Those little things compound massively over time. And that's what this is all about. It's about balance and it's about maintenance. So go away, enjoy yourselves. If you are going away, I wish you guys a fantastic time. But when you come back, make sure you're ready to go because when you get back, there's going to be that next phase coming. There's going to be that next thing we're working towards. And you want to make sure you're prepared for that. Hope you guys took a lot from this. If you've got any questions off the back of this, please ask. There is no such thing as a bad question. And I always like to break things like this down in particular because holidays can derail a lot of players. But when you have a system in place, when you have plans in place, which we can build together, it just becomes really, really easy to manage, to be honest with you. And I want you guys to enjoy yourselves, but also want you guys to come back and not feel overwhelmed like I have done in the past or feel off the pace like I have done in the past because you haven't looked after yourself whilst you're away. Any questions? You know where I am. Have a good one.